Good afternoon, everyone. It has been a little bit of time since my last meaningful video. Had a lot of running around to do, catching up with a lot of stuff that unfortunately is paramount that I get done. I've got a bit of time today to hit on a subject that has been spoken about for a while, well, a few times in the past, but now is just a little bit more in-depth, and pardon me, and that is the Razor shocks out of Team Powers, which can be used on other chassis. That's not an issue, depending on how you want to set them up. But they're little beasties there. They come in a little container out of Team Powers Razor. Now, they're a reduced air system, which means there is no bladder, and when you do actually bleed them up to get them ready for your chassis and all that type of stuff, there is no rebound. They are a progressive inside bore, which means that they are smaller at the top, and at 50% they spread out to become much wider at the bottom. So they have a leading in hole, and basically the bottom pardon me, the bottom of the actual shock shaft is supported, so there's no movement on the shaft. It just goes straight up and down. Now, just recently, to get a little bit more handling onto my chassis for one of my drivers, Nathan Healy, who's predominantly an off-road driver, gave him the opportunity to come and race this in 13.5 at the Cirque Summer Series, which has started and is currently running, and we're coming into the 4th round this weekend. I'm trying to make the car more supple and feel a lot easier to sort of throw around, and not so hard on the suspension. Has been a little bit of a play here and there, and it has worked on certain tracks. On other tracks it tends to be really hard to try and find a feel for it to go well. Now, I didn't know this, and I had to beat myself around the ears, but I have found out that basically SNRC Racer have pistons to suit these, which are 7-hole, less than a millimeter. I think they're about 0.7 mil hole, something like that. I haven't measured it, but they're a 7-hole piston, which means it'll soften up the dampening a bit. Instead of packing up so soon, whether it be the 3, 4 or 5-hole piston, it'll actually won't pack up as much, which allow a little bit more movement on the suspension. As other people say as well, on bumpy stuff, so it actually allow it to ride bumpy stuff a lot better. Now, the other thing I've noticed with this, and people change shock pistons to suit other cars as well, like X-Ray and Arc and that type of stuff, to suit different tracks. Bendigo's a good example. You've got to get the suspension at Bendigo really soft, because it is a very bumpy track. And once you've got it soft, it works a treat, absolute treat. You can't be touched, it runs that well. This is now set up so I can run it at Bendigo or pretty much any track, which is really good. But what I have found out, when I did change to the 7-hole pistons, which are these, into the Raz shocks, something's come up which is quite astounding. Everyone knows that the Raz shocks have to be maintained. Usually go about 3 or 4 races, then you've got to take them off, give them a clean and refill them, because they do weep. They definitely do weep a little bit, and over 3, 4, 5 races they'll start sucking in a bit of air, and that's from the top seal. Okay, so you've got to look at always replacing that O-ring every maybe dozen runs or more, depending on when you feel it be to your advantage to do so. Basically race meetings, not every 12 runs or that type of stuff. Now, these shocks are getting on to 8 months old since the last rebuild, and they've been pretty good. They haven't weeped a lot, and I've been about maybe 16 runs before I have to take them apart, give them a clean, re-bleed them, and all that type of stuff to get them good for the next heat, next race, next meeting, whatever it may be. What these shocks have done now, and it's actually proven to be a benefit, is they've mitigated the problem of weeping off the top end. Because there's so many holes, it doesn't allow the oil to pack up as hard or as quickly, so there's less volume, pressure, wording for it might be different, going towards the top of the shock, which means that there's less chance of the shock itself pushing all out of the top seal. Even if you might have a cruddy seal that's about maybe 10, 12 meetings old at the top end, it stops that because there is less pressure going to the top, and it's worked a treat. The car's driven basically, apart from me driving it and Nathan driving it, it's done about maybe 8 and 9 6-minute runs, and there is no weeping off the top of that shock at all, either it be the front or the rear one. So the conclusion is, if you can, you've got the RAS shocks, definitely change them to at least minimum the 5-hole, but definitely go to the 7-hole if you can. I'm going to buy these and keep them on hand as a standardized replacement. It makes the car much more supple. Instead of always going down and down and down and down on oil and losing that dampening effect because you're going thinner and thinner, and then you've got to go thinner and thinner in the actual spring, then it becomes way too soft. The car doesn't work when it's too soft at all. It's a pain in the ass to try and actually get it going really well. So it still runs 47.5 weight or 536 CST oil out of AE, which I think 536, which I think is around about, I'd have to go back and check, I'm not quite sure, but it's going to be 536 or 500 CST or thereabouts in the shocks, and it's working brilliantly with the 7-hole pistons. So there's something to think about. It's worked on this, it's made the car really pliable and soft. It hasn't taken away the dampening. I still run 2527 linear springs front and rear, and I've left it at that. All it's done is taken away that initial hard pack when the shock comes down. When the shock travel is up, I should say, that hard pack coming in. It is a lot easier, a lot nicer to drive with these pistons in these shocks. And it looks like I'm going to be changing all my cars over, including my GT car, which runs the linear shocks instead of the RAS, into those with the 7-hole pistons. I reckon it's worked out really good. I cannot complain. It's done really well, really well. And in Nathan's words, the car is so easy to drive and drive hard, albeit, in his words again, a couple of dumbass moves on the track which made him take himself out, and he's got to correct that the next time he goes out. But I've got to say, so happy with it. It's just worked better than what I thought it would. And it's something definitely to look forward to the next time you go out and do any rebuilding on the RAS shocks. Okay, if you do any rebuilding, get a new seal kit, put that in, and put the 7-hole pistons into it. Quick and easy, all on. I think it's taken me about maximum 10 minutes to do all 4 shocks. Whack it out, whack it in, put it all in, cap it, half cap, push it up, cap it, that's it, no bleeding, and it's done. That's my thought for the day. See how you go, give it a shot. If you think it's going to work and it's going to make a benefit for you, and these pistons will suit all the RAS shocks right through to the new Dolphin FFV4, which is coming soon here to Australia. Pre-orders are available. I think about, well, at the moment I think I've got about 3 kits coming. None are pre-sold, they're all there ready for the taking. A lot of conjecture about that, about the rear suspension. People saying it's not independent. Well, it is independent. Each wheel is independently sprung via torsion action on the carbon plate, and you adjust how hard or how soft that torsion is via the alloy adjusters, torsion adjusters. So, you know, that's how I see it. Everyone's got a different view. I don't agree with some of the other views that they're not independent when they are. They are an independent sprung wheel. Okay, it's just that it actually works as a torsion system instead of independent rear spring and shock assembly. That's enough for me today. Thank you very much for your time. It's greatly appreciated. I've gone casual today, as you can tell. It's been hot here, so I'm thankful it's about 22, 23 outside today, and it's nice. Able to do these. Got a question, comment, please give us a buzz. I'll see what I can do to answer it as quick as possible. All this stuff is available on the website, rabhobbies.online. Got a question on the car, got a question for the R3 or the T3M, just give us a buzz and we'll see, or we, being me, what I can do for you and sort out your issues, including anything to do with Team Powers. Thanks very much for your time. It's greatly appreciated. Have a good night and take care of yourselves and your family. Thank you. Bye-bye.